Good morning. My name is Wes Simpson. I'm an independent consultant. I've been involved in the video transport industry for quite a while. And one of the things that's really become apparent is that we've had a huge proliferation in the number of standards that are out there. So in the spirit of my predecessors and other people in the field who've come up with field guides for various topics, including a very famous one about birds, I've decided that I'm going to present today a field guide to IP video. So here are the different species. We'll talk about their habitats. We'll talk about some of the different places where you might see different protocols and see what they're going to be used for. Okay, so there's a picture of me in my natural habitat and all sorts of good propaganda. So the IP video ecosystem, let's take a look at this. These are all the different places where we can use IP video. And you can see that we're going to get a flow from a lot of different origin points out to a lot of different destinations. So let's just walk through this a little bit step by step and understand how all of these species work together to make the full IP ecosystem. So up here you see TR01. That is a compressed IP video standard that's widely implemented based on JPEG 2000. That's used extensively in wide area networks. Here we have 2022-6. That's an uncompressed standard that's being used primarily for intra-studio transport today because it encapsulates the entire SDI signal. It takes every bit that's in that SDI and puts it into an IP wrapper. And we'll go into these in some more detail. So, I'm just explaining the scenario here. We'll talk about each of these species later on. We have 1588 Precision Time Protocol. That's kind of the key. That's the master clock that we're going to have for all of the different IP transmitters, receivers, displays, processing units, you name it. All of these devices will synchronize together using Precision Time Protocol so that we no longer have to do things like distribute color black, digital audio reference signals, tri-level sync, all the other signals that we have to send through our studio. PTP will allow us to do that over the same IP network that we're delivering our media over. Then down here you start to see some 2110 crop in. So 2110, as Stan mentioned, is an uncompressed transport format that's based on elemental streams. What that means is that we transport video separately from audio. Different IP addresses, different packets, and the benefits of that are tremendous, but it does put some burdens on the network that we have to be able to synchronize things at the far end. After all, we've got to keep our lips synchronized with our audio. You see some, again, 2110, 2022-6. There's lots of products out there that are that support both standards, and you might see things here. We go out, we emit to the internet using our streaming standards. That's not what we're covering today. 2022-2 is a way to take transport stream, compressed video, and uncompressed video out to and back from remote locations. So overall, what you see here is a way, every blue line that you see in this diagram here is a video over IP style signal. So let's talk about the master, the thing that's providing the synchronization for the overall system. Precision Time Protocol version 2. The actual standard is IEEE 1588 2008, okay? What this provides is a way to take a grandmaster clock, which is typically synchronized to GPS, and distributes that clock through various devices to slaves that are throughout the network. And these slave devices can be cameras, they can be microphones, they can be production consoles, they can be monitoring displays, your master playout system. Any device that's going to be processing 2110 is going to have a 1588 slave implemented inside of it. These other devices that you see here, the boundary clock and the Ethernet switch with a transparent clock, these devices provide a way to distribute that master clock through your IP network. And basically those signals need to be accurate. We want to get their timing accuracy to each one of those points to within a microsecond. Okay, we want very, very high accuracy. The reason for that is with that high accuracy, we can do things like make sure that two different channels of a stereo signal are going to stay in phase so that it recreates the proper sound field when it gets out there. We're going to want to have that kind of accuracy so that we can have our video and our audio very accurately locked together. So we're going to distribute this to video, audio, and all the other devices so that everything can stay in synchronization. We can literally do all the functions that we need on our IP network without having to send separate reference signals. And you'll see a demonstration of Precision Time Protocol with working devices in the interop section over here today. So RealTime Protocol. Now RealTime Protocol is one of the more well-established standards, okay? And I'm showing you the packet header here just as a reference point. And essentially what this does is it allows us to create media packets that have a sequence number. And the sequence number is going to be very important. We're going to be able to determine if all the packets that I sent are going to be reaching my receiver. And I'm also going to have a timestamp, and that timestamp is going to be associated with the time when the media signal was created. So when that frame of video is captured by the camera, we'll create a timestamp. When an audio sample is received by a microphone, we will create a timestamp. And those timestamps are what we're going to use to bring everything through our system and achieve that synchronization. In addition to the timestamps, we have to have a clock identifier. If we have timestamps that are coming from two different clocks, they don't have any meaning relative to each other. We have to have timestamps and then the clock source that they came from. So essentially what you're going to see is this standard came out in 2003. It's been widely implemented. It does make the basis of SMPTE 2022. It makes up the basis of TR01. And we're going to be using it extensively in 2110 and AES 67 for our transport. So it provides a lot of benefit to our devices. It allows us to achieve a lot of functionality that you can't do with other protocols such as TCP. Internet Protocol. This is a grand old dad of them all, released in 1981. The idea behind IPv4 is it provides a global addressing scheme to originate a packet from one place to another. Now, with the types of standards that we're doing today, a lot of people might be saying, well, why aren't you doing IPv6, which is the next generation beyond IPv4? Well, part of the reason for that is for our purposes today within a studio environment, we can build networks literally with millions of devices and we won't run out of IP addresses as long as they're private network applications. The other thing is that this header here is a total of 20 bytes long. When we go to IPv6, it becomes 40 bytes. And when you're moving tens or hundreds of thousands of packets per second through your network, every byte counts. So we want to keep our overheads down. So all the stuff that you see implemented over here today is going to be based on IPv4. But it's a very solid standard. It is the core of the internet today. And you can transport IP over a huge variety of networks. You can do wired Ethernet, you can do fiber optic cable, you can buy MPLS services from telcos, you can use Wi-Fi, although your mileage may vary on video applications. So that's all there. So compressed video over IP. This standard basically takes MPEG-2 transport stream packets that we've been using in the video industry for literally decades. The standard for this came out a number of years ago. And with transport stream packets, we're compatible with satellite transmission, we're compatible with over-the-air broadcasting, both in North America and Europe. And we take those and we place those into RTP headers, into UDP packets, and into IP packets. and allow us to transport these things over the network. Now, the actual 2022 specification came out in 2007, and it was primarily found originally in long-haul networks. Its habitat was getting compressed video streams across IP connections, across a city, across a continent, around the world, and has been very, very successful doing it. There's lots and lots of highly integrated solutions that provide 2022-1 and -2. Now, -2 is technically the format, how you actually put the transport stream packets into the IP. 2022-1 is the error correction mechanism that goes with them. So you're going to see this a lot in compressed audio streams over video, over IP networks, but you will also see uncompressed video. There are implementations out there that have taken uncompressed video and placed it into transport stream packets and shipped them over the network. Those are not necessarily an industry-wide standard, but that is a technology that's being used today. Audio over IP, AES-67. This is a photo that was taken this February at the ISE show in Amsterdam, showing an interoperability between 4 of the leading vendors in the audio space. So AES-67 is a real breakthrough in terms of compatibility for audio over IP. It was released in 2013. It's used extensively in professional audio today. Most of the folks that you see that are exhibiting IP audio equipment today will have a story about AES-67, how their equipment interfaces with it. It takes raw, uncompressed audio and puts it directly into IP packets. You do not have any kind of compression. You don't have any sample rate conversion. It is exactly what comes out of your analog to digital converter, goes directly into your AES-67 stream. So where we see it today is a common interoperable format for interchanging audio signals between all these different manufacturers, and AES-67 is the basis of 2110-30, which is the audio standard that we're going to be talking about here today. So it's a very important standard, it's very relevant, there's ongoing work in it, but it is the default for uncompressed audio over IP today. So in 2110, as Stan introduced, we have 4 major standards that are in development right now. The first one is 2110-10, and that provides the overall concept here. The idea here is that we're going to take our data streams, our audio streams, and our video streams, and we're going to packetize those separately as individual IP packet streams. So we'll have audio flowing through one set of packets, video flowing through another set of packets, overhead data, etc. Each one of these is covered by another standard within 2110. And tying all these together is the key. How do I figure out which videos go with which audios? That's being done with Session Description Protocol, okay? Session Description Protocol is a way, it's a text file that describes the identities of each one of these different media flows and tells you how you can associate them in terms of their IP addresses, their protocols. For video, there's a lot of information about color sampling and color gamut and electro-optical transfer functions and all the other really geeky display stuff. In audio, we talk about number of channels. We talk about which ones are left, right, rear, center, surround, all those good things. All that information is carried in the SDP file, so that what I need at my receiver, once I have this SDP file, I can figure out which IP streams I need to connect to. I can figure out the timing relationships between those IP streams, and I can create whatever signal I need coming out of that system. So we're expecting this standard to come out in 2017. It's very, very close. The committee that I sit on meets every week for over an hour, and we are in the process of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, almost literally, and pushing this thing out the door. So 2110-10 is the first part. That defines the overall concept. That gives you the framework for how all these things play together. And it also defines how the common system timing model works. So how all those things are going to play together. The second part of that standard, is 2110-20, okay? This is the uncompressed video transport format, okay? Again, it's in development, it's very close to coming out the door, and it's primarily used inside the production facility. So what's going to happen here, get my clicker to work, is that we're going to take our video formats and we're going to take the raw pixel data out of those video signals, and we're going to put them into groups of pixels called Pgroups. And these Pgroups will have various numbers of pixels and take up various numbers of octets or bytes, depending on the sampling format. So this happens to be YCBCR 422. So I've got a blue color difference, a luminance signal, a red color difference, another luminance signal. Those four samples together represent 2 pixels, and that's 1 P group in the 422 10-bit scenario. One thing that's absolutely important to remember is that with 2110-20, it is only the active video. There is no Hank, there is no Vank, there is no embedded audio, there is no ancillary data whatsoever. All those are carried as separate streams. So with this format, we have the ability to very accurately describe any picture size that we want. It will actually go up to 32,000 pixels per line and up to 32,000 lines. So we're good, I think, until the Japanese do something that we don't know about yet. But all right, now, so huge variety of video formats. It can support high dynamic range. We can go to 12 bits per pixel. There's work that can be done to extend this to 16 bits per pixel, et cetera. And everything gets encapsulated into IP packets to allow us to provide a perfect uncompressed representation of that video signal. 2110-30, this is our audio format. So in audio, we're going to be using, again, and this is coming out in 2017. It's very closely based to AES-67, and we expect there will be a lot of interoperability there. So raw, uncompressed digital audio samples up to 24 bits. We can handle 48 kilohertz sampling, 44.1, 96. All of those will be supported eventually in the standard. And here what we do is we take a group of audio samples and put them into one IP packet. It doesn't make sense to just put a 24-bit sample in one IP, too much overhead. And we're going to see this again, interoperability. We're going to be able to exchange signals back and forth between AES-67 and SMPTE 2110-30 signals, so we'll have a unified platform. 2110-40 is the way to carry ancillary data. So these are going to be all kinds of functions. We're going to have things like overhead data such as active format description, time code, ad insertion messages. We're going to have the ability to put in captions if we want. All sorts of information that we would normally carry in the vertical ancillary space are going to be able to be carried inside IP packets as separate streams. Again, giving us the flexibility to move those streams wherever we need them to go. So here's a quick example of session description protocol. As you can see, there's a bunch of fields here. It's, we're not teaching a software coding class here. This standard's been out since 2006, but this one happens to describe an audio stream. So you can see it's linear 24-bit sampling, 48 kilohertz, 8 channels of audio. It will tell you what those channels are. It will give you the clock that's associated with them, how many audio samples are in a packet. All the information you need as a receiver to properly process that particular stream so you can actually finish it up. So, let me just keep going here. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is the network media open specifications. This is how we're going to tie all these things together. We have a logical source, we have a logical receiver, we have logical senders. This is the software infrastructure that will allow receivers to figure out which services are available from which senders. It'll allow them to identify how that the network is going to be put together. And the information that flows through NMOS is that SDP protocol that I just showed you. So all of these things are going to play together and give you a very flexible, almost self-managing, self-discovering kind of network. Thank you for your time. If you need any more information, feel free to contact me. I do some training classes on behalf of the IEEE and on behalf of SMPTE, and I also do my own. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.